Plus Audio Network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the new ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
Hey, this is Brad Nortman from KBN. Tune in to Kyle, Brust, and Nortman from 2 to 5 every day. WKTI and WKTI HD Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
It's time for the best 60 minutes of your life. This is the Homer Hour, broadcasting live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee, alongside former Packer Bryan Bulaga. Here's Cousin Sub's Sub of the Day, Tony Cartagena.
What's up, everybody? This is the Homer Hour, 94.5 ESPN. I'm Tony Cartagena, subbing in for Homer, who's off for the whole week, so you get me today and tomorrow. Alex Strofe held it down earlier this week. As he is every Thursday, our guest of the day is going to be Bryan Bulaga. Before we get to Bryan, real quickly, because we're going to get into some Packers, we're going to get into some football, I wanted to start today's show with a text that we got middle of the day from our director of content here at ESPN Milwaukee, Brian D. Not to be confused with Bryan Bulaga, who I'm sure would be a great director of content. Middle of the day, Brian D's got meetings, he's working, he's doing a ton of things, sends this text to the group. Council sticks with Boyd too long and gives up a dinger to Vladdy. Love to see it. That's a Chicago Cubs update from the ESPN Milwaukee director of content, middle of the day, because he, too, has Milwaukee Brewers fever, just like everybody else. We can't watch the Brewers today because they're off, so he's scoreboard watching the Cubs like the rest of us. They lost 2-1. It is just another great day to be a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers and a fan of all the teams in our great state of Wisconsin. Just wanted to start the show with that. And now I will bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Bryan Bulaga. What's up, man?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm
good
great.
To be back on with you.
The Cubs lost today, so it's a good day. I mean, that's just where we're at right now in the state of Wisconsin. When you were playing for the Packers, this is not related to anything training camp, but when you were playing for the Packers, obviously you guys took care of the Bears pretty frequently under Aaron Rodgers. But when you guys would play, I don't know, let's say you guys played the Jets, right? You get back in the locker room, you guys saw the Bears lost, the Vikings lost, the Lions lost. Did you scoreboard watch at all during the season?
I guess it would depend on what team, right? Like,
okay.
It wasn't. We didn't think much about it. Probably the first 4 weeks, so there wasn't much thought about it. I mean, unless it was one of those teams that you thought would probably be there late in the playoffs, right? Like
Gotcha.
You look at, any given year would have been Seattle or San Francisco or any of those teams you would look and be like, oh, if they were losing, you'd be like, that interesting, or just kind of to see it. It'd be more scoreboard watching when you kind of got towards the middle of the year to see how the division started to pan out and how Chicago was doing and Minnesota and Detroit and how they were doing in their games. But for the most part, right, like, I mean, it was, I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it, but a lot of the times the divisions were pretty secure by midway through the season. We felt pretty good about where we were at. We didn't have to do too much scoreboard watching. There were a couple seasons where it was a battle. Like you had to battle with Detroit a couple years, and Minnesota, there was a battle a year or two in there. But for the most part, you win your division games, or you at least go 3-1 in them. There's a good chance you're going to win your division. And so if you take care of business,
yeah, you guys did that a lot with 12 under center. You guys did that a lot, and it was always great. Can't wait for the Packers to get back to the point where the division championship, where the NFC North is pretty much just the standard, and it's expected year in and year out. Hopefully they can do that under Jordan Love. Got a ton of things to hit on football-wise today with Bryan Bulaga. The Packers have joint practices. We got Jason Wilde coming up at 5:15. Once again, this is Tony Cartagena's cousin subbing on the Homer Hour for Homer with Bryan Bulaga for the hour. We got you till 6 o'clock. But I started the show talking a little bit of Brewers. And, Bryan, I'm not sure how much. I'm sure you've heard this. You have the internet. With the 12th win yesterday, the Milwaukee Brewers got free burgers for everyone in the state from George Webb's. Now, when you guys used to have your offensive line dinners, let's just say you guys decided to take that dinner to a George Webb and it was burger night, right? How many burgers could your offensive line room put down on an O-line dinner night at George Webb's?
Oh man. If it was, I mean, it would get ugly in there. I mean, you would probably, you just got to average. Say there's in an O line room. There's what there, you got the starting five, and probably there's 8 guys per 53, and then the practice squad guys. So you got around 15 guys.
Oh, 15. I was thinking 50 burgers, about 5 apiece, thinking there was 10 of y'all. But with the practice squad, we're at 15. All right.
Yeah, about 15 guys. So like you're thinking, you're thinking 4 to 5 burgers a guy. There could be a guy that goes a little bit more than that. Just depends.
Hey, that guy just had a big day of cardio. He just needed to refuel.
Well, see, what it was is like we always had weigh-ins on Thursday.
Okay.
So weigh-in day was Thursday, and we did O-line dinner Thursday night. So guys would get done with weigh-ins, no worry about eating the rest of the week. So guys would take care of business Thursday night and eat whatever they wanted at O-line dinner. So yeah,
salad for dinner on a Wednesday and then a couple burgers on a Thursday night makes sense. Love it.
Yep. So I mean, it would probably, it'd get ugly. I would say it'd get ugly. The amount of food that we would eat at every O-line dinner was, looking back at it, it was absolutely appalling.
That's awesome. I love that. That's what it's all about. You work all day, you get to kick your feet up, enjoy some good food with the fellas at night on Thursday night. I love it. Is that where? So now that the team is in camp, and I wanted to get to the joint practice, but I'll get there eventually. Now that the team's in camp, they're practicing, they're doing all those things. Is that where teams can, for lack of a better term, really come together? Like, it's not really on the practice field during some of these long days, especially in the heat, but it's the meeting rooms, the outings after practice, things like that, where you can really see a position group start to mesh.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously the work on the field is important, right? Like, I'm not going to downplay that. Like, you got to be able to work together and you got to put results out in the field. That's what this comes down to. But where groups start to bond, and I think you ask any guy that plays in the NFL and they're done playing, the one thing they miss is the locker room and the time not on the field, but it's off the field in the locker room with the guys and those moments, right? And the bonding moments. And training camp is like the most important time for that, because like there's so much downtime in between everything, right? Like you practice, and then you come back in and meetings aren't for another like 2.5 hours because the coaches have to go up and grade the tape and correct it. So guys are just like hanging out, right? And you kind of have to, you may get a lift in a cold tub, and that takes an hour. So you got more time to just do whatever you want. So that's when guys bond and they talk and they're playing. We would play backgammon and things like that. We would just goof around, and that's what the time, as you said, guys and position groups are able to kind of build that, chemistry and camaraderie. Now, there's obviously other times, right? Like, nights off at camp. We'd always, go to the local establishment. It was called the Abbey, right by our dorm, right by St. Norbert's. That's where we would always hang out the night of, right before a day off. Have a couple Pepsis. That would be about, like that's what we would do. And we'd push the curfew all the way to like the last minute, because the dorms were right across the street. And that's where the O-line would hang out, and, the quarterbacks would roll through there and different guys would roll through there. But we kind of just had our traditions and what we would do, and kind of kept it the same. And every group had their own thing and what they did. But it's important in camp to like build that trust, that camaraderie. And these guys have been together for a while, but there's new guys that you're integrating into the team, and there's rookies, and you need to make everyone feel like they're a part of it. So like the Packers offensive line, they got a new free agent. Like, he's the starting left guard. Like, you got to make him feel part of the group. He's going to play a big part of this thing. So like it's all about making guys comfortable with who they're playing next to, and you got to be comfortable with them and trust them and all that. And that's all yeah, it's built on the field with the tape you see, but that also gets built, in the locker room and off the field as well, like just the time you spend with guys. So yeah, this is a big time for that.
Who had the closest calls consistently to curfew?
Oh man, I mean,
I'm just kidding. You don't have to dime any of your teammates out. It's all good.
no, I mean, it was, curfews at 11. Guys would stroll in at 11:50 or 10:58. The door. I mean, pretty, regularly that was the way it would go, right? I mean, and we wouldn't really push that early in camp. That'd be later in camp, as like we were about to break at the dorms, and we'd be able to then go home. Because that's when you were kind of transitioning out of camp mode into more of regular season mode, right? Like when you get to these preseason games, like you're more of in season mode. You're game planning, you're going through that whole thing. Yeah, you're still in camp and you're in the practices still feel a little more like camp, but the way your day is set up, it's a little more in season. So guys getting a little bit more of a routine and things like that. So those last few weeks in the dorm, guys, push the limits just a little
For
bit.
sure,
But
of course. Why not?
but nobody was, nobody was like doing any like strolling in late intentionally and anything like that. That was never the case. Guys were pretty good about it.
Gotcha. You're listening to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN. Tony Cartagena, cousin subbing for the legendary Homer, Bryan Bulaga, with me today. We're going to have Jason Wilde in a couple minutes, but before we get to him, Bryan, I do want to ask you about joint practices. It seems to me, maybe just because we're closer to it now, that they're happening all across the NFL. I think the Lions were down in Miami. You got the Packers with the Colts, and then last year they had, I believe, the Ravens and the Texans a couple years before that. Like, they just seem more and more common. As a player, do you love or hate the joint practice?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, LaFleur's first year in Green Bay, and we did it with the Texans. That was my first year ever doing a joint practice because McCarthy and Ted did not like them. They didn't want to do them. So when LaFleur came in and the Texans were the first joint practice, that was my first exposure to it. And like the idea behind it, like I understand the idea behind it. It is good work. Do I love it? Not really. Like, I mean, because what ends up normally happening is tensions rise and something normally ends up happening unless it's the two teams have a pretty good understanding and they're actually getting good work in. And, but for the most part, at least the ones that I were at, I mean, the Texans ones fight broke out, when they came to Green Bay. And then when I went to LA, the 49ers fights broke out in that one. Like, I felt like every 10 minutes. So like, it's just a matter of like what teams are getting together to do the scrimmages. But the concept of having your ones go against ones is great because it's in a practice environment. It's not really tackling. You can control the reps and all those things, which from a coaching standpoint, like you feel great about, right? Like, okay, we can try to minimize the risk, but we're going against their ones and our ones are getting, so like, I understand that, but from a player standpoint, it's like, man, like it's another game. Like that's what this is. This is like another game, but they're calling it a practice. And that's kind of what it is.
So you said something interesting there. You said when your ones are going against their ones, obviously you can get good work, things like that. It seems like the Packers might be on their threes, their fours, going against the ones down in Indianapolis. We're going to do something that rarely happens on this show. We're going to try to be on the clock for our producer, Chris Larson, today. We're going to take a break here on the Homer Hour and ask Jason Wilde, who is all over these joint practices for the Green Bay Packers, about exactly who is on the field for the green and gold down there in Indianapolis. So keep it locked right here. A report on Packers joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts coming up next here on the Homer Hour, 94.5 ESPN.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Few backups and one incident out across southeast Wisconsin this afternoon. Wisconsin 794 north at Oklahoma Avenue. The left lane is blocked due to a crash. 41 northbound backups start at West Bartown Plank Road and clears up at Hampton Avenue. 41 southbound seeing backups beginning at Good Hope Road and clears up at Capitol Drive. 43 southbound. Backups are starting at Capitol. They go through the Marquette interchange. That turns into 94 southbound, and that goes down until you pass the Kinnickinnick River. 94 eastbound, we're seeing bumper-to-bumper traffic from the Zoo interchange past the State Fairgrounds and through the Stadium interchange, and it clears up once you pass South 35th Street. Tonight's going to be mainly clear with a low of 65 degrees, and Friday's going to be mostly sunny and warm with a high of 84 degrees. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Sean Brinda on 94.5 ESPN.
Get ready, Milwaukee. ESPN Wisconsin is coming to Davidson Park. Join us live on Friday, August 22nd for Media Day at Rev and Rumble, presented by the Harley-Davidson Foundation. Jim, Matt, and Molly will be broadcasting from 2 to 5 p.m., followed by the Homer Hour from 5 to 6. Meet some of the amateur boxers before they step into the ring. Grab a photo and check out the park ahead of the big show. Then, don't miss the free Rev and Rumble Boxing Night on Saturday, August 23rd with top Midwest fighters, food trucks, drinks, family fun, and more. All from 3 to 8 p.m. Details and registration are at revandrumble.com.
Let me go on.
Violent Femmes.
Like I blister in the sun. Let me go on.
Performing the debut album and the second album, Hallowed Ground.
You can all just kiss off in
Violent Femmes. 2 sets with intermission. No opening. Live at the Riverside Theater. Saturday, October 18th. Sold out. But second show added. October 19th. Get tickets on sale now at papstheatergroup.com. Violent Femmes.
James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. When Tri-City National Bank decided to optimize their print output strategy, they needed a resource with the expertise to recommend a solution. CIO Robert Bryan.
And James helped us with that analysis of what our print consumption was and what we were doing.
The outcome of the James Imaging Systems Managed Print Services recommendation?
We ended up reducing down to about 97 total printers and copiers from 197.
The impact on your print output?
We eliminated over 500,000 pages a month of output that we figured out we really didn't need.
Month after month, that adds up to savings and value.
Oh, tons of value. Those numbers add up even when it's only a penny or so per page.
Managed Print Services from James Imaging Systems. AI-driven workflow automation, security enhancements, and digital transformation. To learn more, visit jamesimaging.com.
Escape to Lake Lawn Resort in Delavan, Wisconsin, where everything is better at the lake. Dive into endless outdoor activities, including boating, fishing, and paddleboarding on the serene Delavan Lake. Tee off at the lakeside Majestic Oaks Golf Course, or unwind in the award-winning Calidora Spa. Enjoy gourmet meals at 1878 on the lake, casual bites at the Lookout Bar and Eatery, and sweet treats at the Isle of Capri Cafe. Explore Delavan Lake's stunning shores and historic landmarks from the comfort of their 76-foot cruise boat, the Lake Lawn Queen. Book your stay today at LakeLawnResort.com.
It's Jen Latta from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. For me and my family, finding the perfect home is a journey, but we don't walk it alone. With the We Sell Group, Rob and Nick aren't just real estate agents, they're part of our family's team. They bring us options, perspective, and peace of mind. While they navigate the market, I can stay focused on all that life has in store. Because at the We Sell Group, it's not just about the home, it's about the people and the path it takes to get there. The We Sell Group, more than agents, part of your journey. Get started with Rob and Nick at wesell.kw.com.
This is the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. It's time for Jason Wilde on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
We have a Twitter poll in the field, the Discount Liquor Twitter poll here on the Homer Hour, 94.5 ESPN. Tony Cartagena, cousin subbing for the legendary Steve the Homer True with Bryan Bulaga today. And I'll start off our appearance with Jason Wilde by asking him the Twitter poll question that we have on the field. Jason, in 1987, did you wait in line for free burgers from George Webb? Your choices are yes, no, and I don't believe this applies to you. No offense, but I wasn't alive.
I definitely was alive. First of all, I don't even, you and I used to be really close. You produced our show. Now you're some sort of big wig with directorial roles. You don't even say hello to me to start the segment. Just throw me into a poll question?
Here's why. There was a rationale, and I love you, Jason. I miss you. I wish I talked to you more. That's sincere. I'm not just making that up. The thing is, sometimes when I listen to radio interviews specifically, this happens a lot on ESPN National Radio, they have like 5 minutes for these guests. And they spend the first 2.5 minutes with the pleasantries, and I'm not sure people really care. So I tried something new. It didn't work.
It's national radio.
It didn't work. You know what? Okay? Chris, can we replay Wildy's Open? Hold on, Jason. Replay the Open.
Now you're really going to waste time.
On the Homer Hour.
That's what I'm good at.
94.5 ESPN.
Now being joined by Jason Wildy, Tony Cartagena, cousin subbing for Homer with Bryan Bulaga. Jason, how are you today? How are the girls? How's everything in your life? Tell me it all, buddy.
It's great. It's great to be with you guys. Great to be with Bryan. Great to be with the all-time GOAT of producers. And I don't care if Jesse hears me say that or not. So it's great to talk to you again. I appreciate you having me, and it's great that you're filling in for Homer as our cousin sub of the day.
Anytime I get to talk to you, it's great. Now, I do want to ask you a question, if that's okay. We good?
Well, yeah, I was going to answer the poll question.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the poll question. Hit me with the answer to the poll question.
You're really crushing it, buddy. Yes.
What was the poll question? I hope you remember.
I did. I stood in line for burgers at the George Webb on Forest Home Avenue between, or maybe is it Oklahoma? I think it was on Oklahoma Avenue before Forest Home intersects it. I can't.
Nice.
It's from my youth. It was on the south side of Milwaukee, though. I'm a proud Milwaukee South Sider, and I did indeed stand in line for my free burger. And then people forget, we talked about this morning on our show. That 1987 team that won 13 in a row to start the season later lost 12 in a row.
Oof.
Which Tausch wanted to know if if George Webb then required everyone who got a free burger to come in and work like an 8-hour shift to earn their burger back since the team lost 12 in a row.
I think that's fair. That's a good trade-off. Before we get to, I know Bulaga has a bunch of questions for you with the joint practice. I wanted to just hit you with to start. Position players on offense. Who played today that we've heard of? Because it seems like the Packers injury report is quite long.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I was just saying this to, unfortunately, Jesse, who is cousin subbing on Jim, Matt, and Molly over on ESPN Madison. I think what we learned today, without a shadow of a doubt, is that if the Packers have to play without Jordan Love and without 5 of their 6 top receivers, they're cooked.
Yeah.
That's not a recipe for success. And so when you're without Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavion Wicks, Jaden Reed, and Savion Williams, and oh, by the way, even your next guy up is now playing corner, right, in Bo Melton. When your only top receiver that's available to you is your first-round pick, Matthew Golden, that's not a great recipe. So I'm sure they're not as bad as it felt. And in fairness to Malik Willis, that's a tough situation to go into yourself. You know, you're basically playing with the twos, just like you would normally, except you're playing against the other team's ones, and you're not even playing with guys that you have a ton of rapport with. So less than ideal, but again, the most important thing to come out of Indy today is that Jordan Love, the surgery was successful. He is wearing a cast on his left hand for now, but that he intends to practice in some form or fashion next week. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. He said very clearly, and Bryan, I know you and I and Tausch talked about this yesterday, had this happened in the regular season, he would not have done the surgery. He would have just played through it, which I thought was an important piece of information that he shared today. They decided to do this because they had enough time before September 7th to have him be fully healed, so it's not something that's nagging. You've played plenty of years where you always had that something that was nagging. It didn't stop you from playing, but it put you in discomfort. They don't have to worry about that with his thumb because they had the surgery.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, and you know, it is. Listen, no surgeries, just a small surgery, but I mean, it sounds like he's going to be back sooner than later. So obviously the offense, it sounds like, was not good, right? By all means necessary. What were some good takeaways? I mean, the defense was good, I hear. Is that an accurate report that the defense stood out today in Indy?
Yeah, apparently. First of all, let's be honest. The most important thing is that Jordan Love won't be in that cast for very long. So if he decides to have a surf side, having heard your wonderful reads about it, he can drink it with either his right or his left hand once he's out of the
important.
cast.
It's important.
Yeah, and it doesn't taste sugary either. That's also important. So here's the thing. Obviously, I wasn't there. I'm always reluctant to, I don't want to be acting like I know more than I do because, you and I at this point, neither of us were there. So we're kind of working off the same info. I did text with a couple of people just so I'd have some idea of what I missed. And you're exactly right. The defense had a strong day for the Packers. But, again, I'm not here to grade on a curve. But Anthony Richardson kind of stinks, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's never gonna become a quarterback of success, but he hasn't yet. So I don't know how that factors in and what kind of a grading scale that impacts. I will say this, I did text with somebody who said that Lucas Van Ness had another good day. And at some point, we probably have to start recognizing that, he is setting the stage for the kind of season we have been waiting for him to have since they drafted him 13th overall in 2023.
Jason, when we hear as fans, it's so, I guess it's a little bit different when it's a joint practice, but you hear, throughout camp, Lucas Van Ness had a good day today. He had a good day today. We've seen what he's done on the field the last couple of seasons. Is that Lucas Van Ness having a good day, or is that a big question mark at those tackle positions for the Packers specifically?
Yeah, you're right, Tony. That's part of the challenge, right? And Blue knows this. If you have an offensive backgrounded head coach, he always wants the offense to do better than the defense, right? And he's always going to be more ticked off if the offense struggles, because that's his area. But so you have to look at it from both sides of the equation and say, yeah, that's great when they're going against each other. Now, I don't know enough about the Indianapolis Colts starting offensive line. I'm not going to pretend that I know their depth chart, but maybe there's a little bit of that. But in fairness to Lucas Van Ness, he's gone against Zach Tom a couple times in camp. He's gone against both Rasheed Walker and Jordan Morgan, and he's had success against all of them. Now, not every rep, but he's had enough success that you look at it and go, okay, this guy's having a good camp no matter who he's going against, and that's an encouraging thing. So whether or not we're grading on the curve of Indy's offensive line stinks or whatever it might be, I think we have enough evidence through 3 weeks to say that Lucas Van Ness is having a good camp. Now, Bryan would point out that we were saying the same thing last year about Rashawn Gary until Zach Tom came back, and then suddenly we weren't talking about Rashawn Gary, and then we got to the season, and Rashawn Gary had 7.5 sacks, and according to ESPN Stats and Information, he finished 45th in the league in pressures and 60th in the league in pressure percentage. So just because he had a strong start to camp did not necessarily translate to a super productive year. Now, he has had some moments. He had a sack today. And maybe in year 2, in this system, he's going to have a big year. And it won't really matter what he did in training camp or in joint practices. But I would always rather have a guy doing well and showing me encouraging signs than being like, well, he had a really quiet camp, and then hope that he's going to turn it on. I think back last year to Luke Musgrave. I remember talking about this with Bryan. He was having a really quiet camp. And then he had a quiet first couple of games, and they busted up his ankle and missed 10 weeks. Yep. So, it's always better to be making a strong impression. And there have not been a ton of guys that have done that. I think Edgerrin Cooper's done that. I think Brenton Cox has had a pretty good little camp. Kingsley Enagbare as well. So there are some guys that have jumped out. But again, these joint practices, I'm very much looking forward to a week from today when we do this again. But it's in Green Bay, and I'll be there to see them with the Seattle Seahawks.
Jason, do you know, or did anyone on the ground there tell you who started the reps off at left tackle?
I did not talk to anyone about that, and I was not monitoring Twitter closely enough to be able to answer that. That's an important question, though, because, Rasheed Walker's got to get back out there, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he did team today or not. I'm trying to kind of scroll through here and see if Wes or Spoff posted that, because that's a huge question mark. Because, the pendulum, and you and I talked about this too, there was this swing. We went from, all right, well, Sheed's going to keep his job, to then him having this groin injury, and then us saying Sheed's going to have a hard time keeping his job because Jordan Morgan played well against the Jets. So, I'm trying not to swing back and forth. Interesting that Wes, who generally tweets that out, and I don't know if it's because it's a joint practice, they wanted to keep it under wraps, but he did not share the Packers starting offensive line. So I'll keep looking while we're talking and see if anybody else has that on their feeds.
Based on how the offense did, or maybe you know this already, does LaFleur plan on playing starters in the preseason game, in preseason 2? Do you know that?
So what he told us was that his game plan was heading into the preseason was to play the starters against the Jets, which he did, and his quarterback injured his non-throwing thumb. It was then to have his starters work in this joint practice today, but not play in the game on Saturday. And then next week, and this is where I thought it was really interesting, his plan was to have the starters work in the joint practice and play in the preseason game.
Oh.
So when they get back, and look, he said it's highly unlikely that Love's going to play in the preseason game, the finale against the Seahawks. As Tausch put it this morning, let me help Matt out with that. There ain't no way they're putting Jordan Love back out there in a preseason game after what happened in the first one. About as far as the other starters, again, he's not the only one, and it's not just the wide receivers. Like Nate Hobbs is still out, right? Xavier McKinney, even though Goody said absolutely he'll be ready to go for the opener, he's not going to be out there. So it'll be interesting to see who they line up against the Seahawks that afternoon, because it's good. The one thing I can guarantee you, well, I guess I can't guarantee it, but I feel very confident, is that they're going to, once Sheed is back and cleared for 11-on-11, those guys are going to rotate at left tackle, and it's going to go down to the wire, I think, to see who starts.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, because they've been obviously, when Sheed was healthy, Jordan Morgan was going back and forth from guard to tackle and, whatever he was doing. So there wasn't really, as we talked about earlier, there wasn't really that competition where you could focus in on and be like, okay, he's taking reps now. Now he's taking reps now, because Jordan Morgan was moving all around. And now it's obviously Sheed is out and Jordan Morgan's taking all the reps. So, this needs to be, for the coaches to evaluate this, the cleanest way is to have both of them back and both of them taking reps at the same, in the same practices against the same type of opponents and joint sessions and preseason games. And I don't know if that's going to happen for Sheed this weekend. I think so. We're talking next week is how you're going to have to decide, which is wild that that's what it's coming down to.
Yeah. And look, may the best man win. I understand that, and I understand that's important. At the same time, Brian, I guess my issue here is that if it's, if it's close, if it's tie goes to the runner, I feel like the tie should go to the incumbent, not just because he's the incumbent, but what exactly, and I think you mentioned this to us yesterday when we were talking on our show, what exactly is their substitution pattern going to be if Morgan wins the left tackle job? And again, let me be clear, right? Your job as a coach is to put your best five out there. And you can't think the way I'm thinking right now if you're Steno and Butkus and LaFleur. I get it. But if Morgan wins the left tackle job, Sheed becomes your swing tackle. But what happened? Like, how do you sub in given the different injuries? Like, if Jenkins goes down, do they just put in Monk? If Banks or Sean Ryan go down, I think we saw that you don't want Monk at guard, right?
No.
So then,
correct.
So then, do you put Sheed at left tackle, and then you move Jordan Morgan to one of those two guard spots, even though he practiced all week at left tackle? Like, it feels like, as opposed to if Sheed wins the left tackle job, you have Jordan Morgan work at both guards and both tackles during the course of the week, so he's ready for anything. And he's got more positional versatility than Sheed does. So your sixth man, you don't have to upset the apple cart at all, unless it's Jenkins that gets hurt. Then you move Sean Ryan over, so you're moving two spots. But of the other four spots, you just plug and play with Jordan Morgan, and you don't have to do anything else. And so if he wins the job, then that's out of the equation. Then you're doing a whole bunch of juggling.
Yep.
Jason, it looks like we ran out of time for me to ask you about the most injury-prone players. So I guess you can't do that today on today's show. But real quick before we let you go, Matthew Golden had a couple highlights that made rounds on the internet today. Obviously, you've got to see them over the past couple of weeks in camp and everything, OTAs. But you've been around the team a while, and just as a fan of football, does he remind you, at this point in his rookie season, does he remind you or give off vibes of anyone else that you've covered or been around all these years?
Yeah, big time. And Blue's heard me say this. He reminds me of Greg Jennings. He's faster. He's faster than Greg. And again, people forget because of the way Greg left and finding that Vikings helmet. Packers suck. Greg Jennings. He didn't make a whole lot of friends on his way out of town. But Blue played with him. He was a field tilting.
When he was
wide
here,
receiver.
he was great.
Yep.
He was awesome.
Yeah. Again, I've got scouts who've told me that he would have been the Packers' all-time leading receiver had he just stayed here, which I think they're right. So I keep using this word. I know you got to go, but the way he runs, both Golden and the way I remember Greg running, they glide. There's just a gracefulness to the way they're not laboring like, say, Strofe on a three-cone drill. They just glide along the field, and they're athletic. They've got strong hands. They can jump. They're tough. So the similarities are pretty hard to miss in my mind.
It makes me sad that we ran out of time because I want to hear more about that. So next time, if I can sneak my way into subbing in for Homer again, I'll have to get some more on the Matthew Golden, Greg Jennings comparisons. Jason Wilde on the Homer Hour today. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Tony, you still have my number. You can just call me.
Yeah, I know. But I feel like we got to let the fans into those conversations as well. Do you know what? I'll call you sometime. We got to catch up.
I look forward to it. All right, guys. Take care. Be good.
That's Jason Wilde here on the Homer Hour. Tony Cartagena's cousin subbing in for Homer, Bryan Bulaga, with us today because it's Thursday, as he will every Thursday during the football season. More next when we return the Homer Hour, 94.5 ESPN.
The Homer Hour is back after this on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
have a couple of backups during your afternoon rush hour. If you're heading on 41 southbound, be aware that backups do begin at Good Hope Road and they clear up once you pass Capitol Drive. If you're heading on a 94 eastbound, we're seeing bumper-to-bumper traffic starting from the Zoo interchange that goes past the State Fairgrounds through the Stadium interchange and clears up once you pass south of 35th Street. If you're heading on a 43 southbound, backups actually begin at Capitol Drive. They go all the way through the Marquette interchange that turns into 94 southbound, and then that doesn't clear up until you pass the Kinnickinnick River. Tonight's going to be mainly clear with a low of 65 degrees. Friday's going to be mostly sunny and warm with a high of 84 degrees. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Sean Brinda on 94.5 ESPN.
From the biggest stars to the greatest moments, Behind the Bucks is Bucks history like you've never heard it before. It's all on Behind the Bucks on the Bucks Plus audio network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the new ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Faith and Bigora, lads and lassies. Irish Fest is almost here. One of the great Milwaukee summer festivals. And we'd like to send you there. Compliments of Discount Liquor. Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. Purchase any one 18-pack bottle of Coors Light or Coors Banquet and receive one free ticket to Irish Fest. But don't delay. Tickets go quickly, and I know you don't want to miss all the great Irish food and beverages. Visit us today at 51st in Oklahoma and Milwaukee, and on Barstow in Maine in downtown Waukesha. Discount Liquor, voted best liquor store in Milwaukee again. See us this week for your free Irish Fest ticket.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Check out all of our weekly specials at discountliquorinc.com.
To help those who want to be helped but may not be able to afford it.
That's what PGA Tour winner Grayson Murray had envisioned for a foundation before he sadly took his own life at just 30 years old. His parents channeled their grief into creating the Grayson Murray Foundation, carrying out his vision to help those struggling with mental health and addiction. To donate and learn more, visit GraysonMurrayFoundation.com.
Sharon needed legal help. She needed Gruber Law Offices.
When I think about Gruber Law Office, I think about how they took care of me, how they make sure that you get what you're supposed to get. Gruber Law Office. One call, that's all. I will always trust one call, that's all.
Injured? Call Gruber Law Offices today. One call, that's all.
They are the best. I'm very happy.
It's a home run! But wait, is your roof ready for the big league storms? If your roof has more holes than a catcher's mitt, it's time to bring in the pros. At Avondale Roofing, we've been handling leaks, repairs, and full replacements with major league precision for over 30 years. And as a GAF Master Elite certified contractor, we bring top-tier quality and proven performance to every job. Whether it's a quick patch-up or full upgrade, our team steps up to the plate and knocks it out of the park every time. You're out! Don't wait till water's in your dugout. Call Avondale Roofing today and keep your home in the win column.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Tony Cartagena subbing in for Homer, cousin subbing that is, for Homer on the Homer Hour today with the one and only Bryan Bulaga. And Bryan, I got a question for you about one of your former teammates coming up in just a second, but before we get there, you got to tell me about some of your, or one of your great partners that make your appearances on this show possible.
That's right. I want to talk about my friends at Surfside. Summer's heating up, and there's nothing more refreshing than an ice cold Surfside iced tea and vodka or Surfside lemonade and vodka to break the heat. Why I like Surfside so much? It just tastes better than all those other drinks you see on the shelf. It doesn't make you regret having a drink or two after you get done having it, because it doesn't make your mouth feel like it's loaded with sugar like all the other ones. Believe me, this one tastes different. Made with real brewed tea and real vodka, Surfside's only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and 0 bubbles. That's right, no carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy no matter what your plans are this weekend. Look for the can with the sunset stripes, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
That's Bryan Bulaga. I'm Tony Cartagena, cousin subbing for Homer today. And Brian, last segment, we were joined by Jason Wilde, and I asked him, and I know you guys have talked about this before, but I asked him if just watching Matthew Golden in practice reminds him of anyone else he's covered, even going back to, Freeman and Robert Brooks and other people other greats throughout Packers history. And he brought up the name Greg Jennings. I know Packers fans pretend they don't like Greg Jennings. Greg Jennings loved Greg Jennings when he was on the Packers, right? He's an all-time great wide receiver, Mount Rushmore, maybe outside looking in right there. Who depends on who you ask. If Golden turns out to be Greg Jennings, Brian, how much of a win is that for this Green Bay Packers team?
Huge win. It's a huge win. I mean, Greg Jennings is a Packer Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken.
If he's not, he should be. I assume he is, but
I'm pretty sure he is. So, that's pretty good, right? When you draft guys, obviously you always the thing is if they end up in the Packers Hall of Fame, that's a great career then for that player, right? And that means that player was very successful. He accomplished a lot on the field, obviously statistically, but also for your locker room. He's thought very highly of in the organization. So if he ends up being like Greg Jennings and then putting up those types of numbers, that is a big win because Greg was a stud. Greg was a stud. Again, and people could say whatever, and that's the thing. Greg, and obviously, I don't talk to Greg. I played with Greg for a few years. I was young when Greg was in Green Bay. I was, my first, second, and maybe my third year at the time. I don't know when Greg left. I forgot which year. But Greg was so good. He was so reliable. You felt like every time the ball was thrown his way, he was going to catch it. Always explosive after the catch. He said, obviously Packers, he has said stuff in the media and has said stuff since that obviously, irritates some people, which, it is what it is, but it doesn't diminish how good he was when he wore, the green and yellow. The dude was unbelievable. And obviously how it ended is how it ended, but he accomplished a lot while he was in Green Bay.
I hate when that happens, when it's, a guy because there were a lot of 85 jerseys back in the day, and they all said Jennings on the back, right? But when guys leave your favorite team, of course you're a little offended or a little hurt, you go play for a rival, whatever. But then when people try to diminish what they did on the field, and you can say that if you're talking about Jennings, you can say that if you're talking about 12, just because they don't like it's just Greg Jennings demands that respect from people who watch football. So just getting that out there with the comparisons that Jason Wilde brought up between Matthew Golden and Greg Jennings. Going to finish talking about some Packers joint practices and a couple other questions coming through for Bryan Bulaga right here after the break. You're listening to the Homer Hour, 94.5 ESPN.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app. On this show, it's always football season.
I don't think any Packer fan should be sitting here and saying the sky is falling. Woe is me.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
And I know Jordan Love and that offensive staff is not going to say, well, the thumb set us back the whole season. Nobody's going to care. You better get it right. And I think that's why they had the surgery now to alleviate that. So this isn't something that lingers into middle to end of September.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube channel, and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
Hey ESPN Milwaukee fans, Bryan Bulaga here for Surfside. Summer is heating up, and there's nothing more refreshing than an ice-cold Surfside iced tea and vodka or Surfside lemonade and vodka to break the heat. Made with real brewed tea and real vodka, Surfside is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and 0 bubbles. That's right, no carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy no matter what your plans are this weekend. Look for the can with the sunset stripes, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Freddie Coleman.
It's always good to know information before something jumps off and gets a lot worse. That's what Michael Porter Jr. in the NBA had a chance to say about sports betting and the impact is going to get worse. He was on the One Night with Steiny podcast this week, and he said, and I quote, "The enjoyment of the game isn't for the game anymore. It's so that people can make more money. In reality, way more people are losing money than making money," end quote. Now, for those who don't know, Michael Porter Jr.'s younger brother, Jonte, was banned from the NBA in 2024 for his role in a gambling scheme. He admitted, meaning Jonte in court in July of 2024, that he had to remove himself from 2 games during the 2023-2024 season to benefit associates who had bet on the under on his statistics. He said said scheme was designed to pay off gambling debts. Maybe we should pay more attention when a player in the know has that know when it comes to Michael Porter Jr. Let's hope that this doesn't get a lot worse before it gets better, because Michael Porter Jr. has warned each and every one of us. In 60 seconds, keeping an eye on Shohei Ohtani.
Your fantasy draft is here. The Smack Talk is starting, and this season, ESPN Bet is giving you more ways to ride with your squad. Introducing ESPN Bet Fan Center, where you can instantly link and bet on your fantasy teams right in the ESPN Bet app. An enhanced sports betting experience only from ESPN Bet, the sports book for sports fans. Download the app today. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
We're brought to you today by GNC. Hope I'm not interrupting your workout routine, but the GNC Live Well sale is going on right now. Buy one, get one, 50% off everything in the store and at GNC.com. That's right, everything. Protein, pre-workout, creatine, vitamins, supplements, and so much more. Go for it all and don't miss out. At GNC, nutrition isn't just the department, it's the whole freaking store. You got goals, GNC has results. Visit your local GNC store or go to GNC.com.
It's been some kind of last 18, 24 months involving the best player in the world in baseball when it comes to Shohei Ohtani. Now, he had to move on from a friend of his who was embezzling money. Many people wonder if that person was a fall guy for Shohei Ohtani to be involved in something maybe sinister, nefarious, whatever. And now a Hawaii real estate investor and broker is suing Shohei Ohtani, claiming that Shohei and his agent got them fired from a $240 million luxury housing development on the Big Island's coveted Hapuna Coast that they brought him in to endorse. This lawsuit was filed last Friday, and Ohtani's agent said, you know what, this is a frivolous lawsuit. Whether it is or it isn't, that's two things involving Shohei Ohtani, the best player in his sport, that has a scandalous nature to it. Not trying to put something out there that isn't out there, but maybe something to keep an eye on involving Shohei Ohtani. Hopefully it's something that is frivolous and not something being scandalous attached to him. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio's Freddie and Harry.
Welcome back to the Homer Hour on ESPN Wisconsin and the ESPN Wisconsin app.
1, 2, you know what to do.
One more segment here on the Homer Hour, 94.5 ESPN. Don't forget to download that brand new ESPN Wisconsin app so you can take us on the go. All our shows, all our podcasts, all our talent, myself included. Tony Cartagena, cousin subbing for Homer. Bryan Bulaga's all over the app. Packers updates everywhere. Download the ESPN Wisconsin app today. Bryan, we got one segment left here, and the Packers obviously have a preseason game coming up with the Indianapolis Colts, and Jordan Love is done for the preseason. Adam Schefter said that at Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning. Jason Wilde all but confirmed that officially just a couple minutes ago on this show. So other than health, when you look at preseason game number 2 and the depth chart of players that they're going to be putting out there, is there someone in particular that you're really keeping an eye on to see, how they're going to fare, what they're going to look like when the regular season starts?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm going to be curious to see if they put Golden out there because their wide receiver room already looks the way it does. Right?
Should they? I wouldn't, right? Okay.
No, I would not. I mean, but now we're getting into territory that we're not even playing rookies in preseason, which is like crazy, right? Like, I mean, it just happens because like this would be the time to get him those reps just to like work things out, right? Like just to, even if he doesn't, get a ball thrown at him, he's still running his routes, he's seeing coverages, and he's just going through things. It's taking reps, but the way the room is right now, why would you put him out there? I mean, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'll be interested to see if anyone from that defensive line gets reps. Obviously, I doubt like Rashawn or Kenny are going to play, but does Van Ness get some reps? Does Jordan Morgan go out there and take reps? Because technically that is a competition still, and this is another opportunity for him to put another notch in his belt in the competition. So, like, that's another thing that I'll be very interested to see how that kind of works itself out. Because if Jordan Morgan goes out there and starts again and plays, very similar to the way he did against the Jets, I don't know what the discussion is going to be. I know Jason talked about that. Like, he's going to, obviously if things are close, he's going to go with Sheed. But Green Bay the brass may not see it as close. They may not see it as close if Jordan Morgan continues to progress and play well, and Sheed isn't taking any 11v11 reps, right? Like, I mean, that's what's happening right now. So I'll be interested to see if he plays. And then, I'm always excited to see Malik Willis play. I think he's exciting. He does a lot of fun things out there. So, like, obviously, no weapons, right? I mean, they're really thin at the receiver position, so it's going to be difficult for him. Obviously, Jacobs isn't going to touch a ball all preseason, so he doesn't have the running back. None of the tight ends are going to play. So, like, obviously,
there's nobody play. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, so it's really going to be difficult for him to, recreate some of that magic he did against the Colts last year. If I'm not mistaken, it was against the Colts, right? We played the
I think Colts. He beat the Colts and the Titans when Malik Willis took over.
Yeah, so like it'll be, he won't get that same opportunity, but I always do enjoy getting to see him play because what he did last year. And obviously I like when the backups get an opportunity to start, like the backup QBs, because I mean they try to make the most out of that opportunity, and then they try to treat it like it's regular season, and then they treat it seriously. So I'm excited to see that. Defensively, again, I don't know who's playing in the back end.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
McKinney's not going to be out there. We're obviously sure of that. Bo Melton is going to be a starting corner. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, he's obviously going to be starting. I mean,
that's wild.
Because they're not putting out Nixon.
Nope.
They're not putting out.
Hobbs is hurt.
Yep. They're probably not going to put out. What?
I'm guessing Valentine and Evan Williams on the further back there. Like Javon Bullard probably gets some reps. I'm guessing if he's not hurt, but honestly, I have no idea. It probably is. Just the way that things are going. I look at it's interesting you bring that up, and I know we only have like a minute left here, but to me, that room is very thin. You lose Jair, and obviously Hobbs is going to miss all of camp. That room is thin, and if those DBs don't get help from the defensive line, if this team is going to win a lot of football games this year, it's going to look like the Bengals a couple years ago, maybe last year, where they got to put up 33, 35 points a game to be competitive. But like the defensive line, someone's got to show something. Wildy brought up some names like the Brenton Cox, Ingambare. Like these are good opportunities for guys like that to just get live reps, I guess, and show something, because like they got to bring pressure. Like
100%.
It's tough.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you don't want to have to bring pressure with 5 or 6 guys to protect. I mean, you want to be able to drop guys in coverage, and like the way to do that is win with 4.
You can't be thin at defensive line and cornerback. It's a recipe for disaster. Bryan, we'll have to catch up next week after the Green Bay Packers take on the Indianapolis Colts in the preseason game this weekend. Obviously, we have roster cuts and a lot of just very exciting football transactions going to be happening over the next couple of weeks as we get closer and closer to the season opener. The Milwaukee Brewers are off tonight, so they still keep their 12-game winning streak intact. Tomorrow night, they are in Cincinnati. Tony Cartagena, cousin subbing for Homer. Bryan Bulaga with us on the Homer Hour. Download that ESPN Wisconsin app today.
We still have some backups across southeast Wisconsin. If you're heading on 43 southbound, Backups start at Hampton Avenue. They go through the Marquette interchange. That turns into 94 southbound, and you'll see backups going all the way to the Kinnickinnick River. 94 westbound, we're seeing backups at South 16th Street through the Stadium interchange. That clears up at Mitchell Boulevard. 41 southbound is seeing backups at Good Hope Road, and it clears up once you pass Capitol Drive. If you're going on a 94 eastbound, we're seeing bumper-to-bumper traffic from the Zoo interchange past the State Fairgrounds through the Stadium